A single father waits alone at a restaurant, stood up on what should have been his first real date in 3 years. But when a stranger in a power suit finally walks through the door at 10:18 p.m., she doesn't just apologize. She offers him a career-changing deal that will blur every line between professional ambition and personal vulnerability. What starts as a blind date becomes a collision of two broken worlds trying to rebuild. If you want to see how far love and opportunity can take a man who refused to give up, stay until the very end. Hit that like button and comment your city so I can see how far this story travels. The parking lot of Marcello's Italian restaurant was half empty when Liam Carter cut the engine of his faded blue Silverado. Tuesday night in downtown Austin meant quieter streets, softer jazz bleeding through restaurant windows, couples walking hand in hand beneath strings of Edison bulbs that turned the city into something almost romantic. He sat there longer than he should have. His hands rested on the steering wheel, calloused from years of mouse clicks and late nights hunched over design software, and he stared at the warm glow spilling from the restaurant's tall windows. Inside he could see movement, servers weaving between tables, wine glasses catching candlelight, people laughing at jokes he couldn't hear. He hadn't done this in 3 years. 3 years, 2 months, and 16 days, if he was counting. Which he was. Which he hated that he was. Liam flipped down the visor. Tucked into the edge of the mirror was a crayon drawing. 6-year-old Ava's masterpiece from last Tuesday. 3 stick figures holding hands beneath a crooked sun. Me, Daddy, and Miss Rachel, she'd explained proudly, referring to her kindergarten teacher who sometimes stayed late when Liam's client calls ran over. He touched the edge of the paper. Just dinner, he muttered to himself. Just see what happens. But his heart was already bracing for disappointment. At 35, Liam had learned that hope was expensive. It cost sleep. It cost focus. It cost the kind of emotional energy he'd rationed carefully since the night Claire died, leaving him alone with a 3-year-old daughter and a world that suddenly made no sense. He checked his phone. 8:47 p.m. 13 minutes until their reservation. The screen showed his last message to Chloe from that afternoon. Liam. Still on for tonight? No pressure if things changed. Chloe. Wouldn't miss it. Blue dress. You'll know me when you see me. He'd smiled at that. She had a way of writing that felt confident without being cold. 6 weeks of messages had revealed someone sharp, funny, self-aware in a way that made him feel less alone. She worked in corporate strategy. She'd been vague about the details, which he respected. Everyone had boundaries. He climbed out of the truck. The October air was mild, carrying the scent of grilled garlic and fresh bread from Marcello's kitchen. Liam smoothed down his shirt, a dark gray button-down he'd ironed twice, and reminded himself that this wasn't betrayal. Claire would have wanted this. She'd have kicked his ass for waiting this long. The hostess greeted him with a practiced smile. Reservation for Carter, Liam said. Table for 2. 8:30. She scanned her tablet. Right this way. The table was small, intimate, tucked near the back corner where the lighting was softer and conversations could stay private. A single candle flickered between 2 place settings. Liam sat facing the door, old habit from years of watching Ava in crowded spaces, and ordered water. 8:52 p.m. He scrolled through his phone, checked email, reviewed a logo mock-up for a local coffee shop that was paying him barely enough to cover groceries, but at least kept the lights on. 9 p.m. The waiter returned. Can I start you with something from the bar? Not yet, Liam said. Waiting for someone. 9:15 p.m. He sent a message. Liam, hey, no rush. Traffic? The checkmark turned blue. Read? No response. 9:28 p.m. Couples came and went. A family of 4 settled into the booth beside him, their youngest daughter spilling crayons across the table while her parents ordered wine. Liam watched the little girl draw, her tongue poking out in concentration, and thought of Ava asleep at his sister's house across town. I'm going on a date, he told her that afternoon while braiding her hair. She'd spun around, eyes wide. With who? A friend. Her name's Chloe. Is she nice? I think so. Is she pretty? Liam had laughed. I don't know yet. I've never seen her. Ava had frowned, processing this with the logic of a 6-year-old. Then how do you know you like her? Because she makes me laugh, he'd said, and she asks good questions. Now, sitting alone at a table set for two, he wondered if that had been enough. 9:45 p.m. The waiter returned, sympathy creeping into his expression. Sir, would you like to order? Liam glanced at the door one more time. Empty. Yeah, he said quietly. I'll take the bolognese. Just one entree? Just one. The waiter nodded and disappeared. Liam leaned back in his chair and exhaled slowly. This was fine. This was expected. 6 weeks of texting didn't mean anything in the real world. People changed their minds. People got scared. People decided that a 35-year-old single dad with a mortgage he could barely afford wasn't worth the effort. He didn't text anything angry, didn't send passive-aggressive emojis or demand explanations. That wasn't who he was anymore. Fatherhood had sanded down his sharper edges, taught him patience, taught him that most things weren't personal even when they felt that way. He just sat there, ate his pasta, drank his water, watched couples laugh and clink glasses, and lived the kind of easy, uncomplicated lives he used to take for granted. By 10:10 p.m., he'd paid the check. He left a generous tip. The waiter had been kind and stood to leave. That's when the door opened. She stepped inside like she owned the room. Not arrogant, not performative, just certain. A woman in her late 30s, composed and controlled, wearing a tailored ivory suit that looked like it cost more than Liam's truck. Her dark hair was pulled back in a sleek, low bun. No jewelry except a thin watch that caught the light as she scanned the restaurant with the practiced efficiency of someone used to assessing situations quickly. Her gaze landed on him. She didn't hesitate. She walked straight toward his table, heels clicking softly against the hardwood floor, and stopped 2 feet away. You're Liam, she said. Not a question. He stood slowly, chair scraping against the floor. Chloe? She nodded once. I'm sorry I'm late. But her tone wasn't apologetic. It was something else. Measured, deliberate, like she was delivering a line she'd rehearsed on the drive over. Liam glanced at the empty chair, at the waiter hovering nearby, at the suit that definitely wasn't a blue dress. I was just leaving, he said carefully. I know. She pulled out the chair and sat down anyway. Please, 5 minutes. He didn't move. Please, she said again, and this time there was something raw beneath the polish. Liam sat. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Chloe folded her hands on the table, fingers laced together, and studied him with the kind of intensity that made Liam feel like he was being appraised. Not judged, just measured. I wasn't sure you'd still be here, she said finally. I wasn't sure I would be either. But you were. I ordered dinner, Liam said. Seemed like a waste to leave. A flicker of something, amusement, respect, crossed her face. Most people would have sent an angry text and left by 9:30. I'm not most people. No, Chloe said softly. You're not. The waiter appeared, uncertain. Miss, can I get you? Whiskey, Chloe said without looking at him. Neat. Whatever's good. He disappeared. Liam leaned forward slightly, elbows on the table. You want to tell me what's going on? Chloe exhaled slowly. She reached up, pulled a pin from her bun, and let her hair fall loose around her shoulders. It was a small gesture, but it changed everything. Softened her edges, made her look less like a boardroom photograph and more like a woman who was tired. I lied to you, she said. Liam's chest tightened. About what? About what I do. He waited. I'm not in corporate strategy, Chloe continued. I mean, technically I am, but that's not the whole truth. She met his eyes. I'm the CEO of Bennett Collective. The name landed like a stone. Liam blinked. The hotel group? Hospitality development, Chloe corrected. Hotels, restaurants, event spaces, 15 properties across Texas, expanding into Colorado next year. He sat back in his chair. He'd seen their logo before. He's clean, modern, confident. Bennett Collective was the kind of company that got written about in business magazines, the kind that attracted investors and press coverage, and people who spoke in terms of quarterly growth and market positioning. Why didn't you tell me? Liam asked. Because I wanted one space in my life where I wasn't her. Chloe's voice softened. The CEO, the decision maker. The woman who has to have all the answers. She glanced down at her hands. I just wanted to be Chloe. The waiter returned with her whiskey. She took a long sip, then set the glass down carefully. I had a board call tonight, she said. Emergency session. One of our investors is threatening to pull out unless we restructure our Colorado timeline. It started at 7. I thought it'd be quick. She laughed bitterly. Nothing's ever quick. You could have texted, Liam said quietly. I know. Cancelled, rescheduled. I know. So why didn't you? Chloe looked at him then, really looked at him. And for the first time since she'd walked in, the armor cracked. Because I was terrified you wouldn't be here when I showed up. The restaurant had emptied around them. Only 2 other tables remained occupied. A couple splitting tiramisu near the window, an older man reading a newspaper over espresso. The kitchen sounds had softened. Somewhere, a dishwasher hummed. Liam didn't know what to say. This woman, this CEO, had just confessed to being afraid. Not of failure, not of investors or board meetings or restructuring timelines. Afraid of him not waiting. I looked at your portfolio, Chloe said, changing direction, 3 weeks ago, before we even set this date. Liam frowned. How'd you find it? You mentioned your business name once. Carter Creative Co. She smiled faintly. Google did the rest. He felt his face heat. His portfolio was decent but small. Local logos, website redesigns for startups that folded within a year. The occasional branding package for someone's cousin's boutique. It's not much, he said. It's excellent, Chloe countered. You see brands the way I wish my executive team did. I design logos. You design clarity. She leaned forward. Most designers try to do too much. They want to impress. They want complexity. You strip things down to their essence. You make companies look like they know exactly who they are. Liam shifted uncomfortably. That's just, I don't know, clean lines, simple concepts. It's more than that. Chloe took another sip of whiskey. Bennett Collective is about to go national. We have investor presentations in 6 weeks, press coverage, partnerships with brands that could put us on the map. She paused. But our visual identity looks like it was designed in 2015 by someone's nephew. Despite himself, Liam almost laughed. I've been looking for someone to lead a full rebrand, Chloe continued. Someone who understands how to build a brand that scales without losing its soul. Her gaze held his. And then I met you. You haven't met me, Liam said. We've been texting. Exactly. Chloe set down her glass, which is why tonight mattered so much. I don't understand. I needed to see what you'd do, she said simply. When I didn't show up, when things didn't go according to plan, she gestured around the empty restaurant. Most people would have bailed, sent angry messages, assumed the worst. And I didn't. No. Chloe's voice softened. You ordered dinner. You stayed calm. You waited. She tilted her head slightly. That tells me how you handle pressure. Liam stared at her. This wasn't a date. This was an audition. You're offering me a job, he said slowly. I'm offering you a contract, Chloe corrected. 6 months, full rebrand, logo, website, marketing collateral, brand guidelines, everything. Enough to triple your annual income. His pulse quickened. Triple his income meant Ava's college fund. It meant fixing the truck's transmission. It meant not lying awake at 3 a.m. wondering if freelancing was sustainable or just prolonged financial suicide. But it also meant something else. It meant this woman had orchestrated tonight as a test. You planned this, Liam said quietly. Chloe didn't deny it. The board call was real, but yes, I could have rescheduled our date. I didn't. She met his eyes. I needed to see who you were when things fell apart. And if I'd left? Then you wouldn't have been the right person. Liam pushed back from the table slightly, his mind spinning. That's manipulative. It's strategic. It's dishonest. It's business. Chloe's voice didn't rise, but there was steel beneath it. I don't hire people based on resumes or smooth interviews. I hire people who show me who they are when no one's watching. She leaned forward. You didn't send angry texts. You didn't guilt trip me. You just waited with grace. I waited because I'm a single dad, Liam said, his voice harder now. I've learned patience because I have to. Because my daughter needs me to be steady, not because I'm auditioning for your approval. Chloe's expression shifted. Surprise, maybe? Or respect? You're right, she said quietly. I'm sorry. The apology caught him off guard. I've spent so long thinking like a CEO that I forgot how to think like a person. She looked down at her hands. I shouldn't have tested you. That wasn't fair. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Liam asked, Is the job offer real? Chloe looked up. Yes. Even after I just called you manipulative? A small smile touched her lips. Especially after that. Awesome. They talked until midnight. Not about the contract, not about Bennett Collective or branding strategies or investor presentations. They talked about Ava. Chloe asked careful questions. Not intrusive, not performative, but genuinely curious. What did Ava like to draw? What books did she make Liam read until he had them memorized? What was it like balancing work deadlines with kindergarten drop-offs and soccer practices? Liam found himself answering honestly. It's hard, he admitted. Some days I feel like I'm failing at both. I miss client deadlines because she's sick. I miss school events because a project needs revisions. He stared into his water glass. Her mom would have been better at this. Chloe didn't offer empty reassurances. She just listened. Claire died 3 years ago, Liam continued. Car accident, black ice on the highway coming home from her sister's place. His voice stayed steady. He'd told this story enough times that the sharp edges had worn smooth. Ava was 3. She doesn't remember much. Sometimes she asks questions, but mostly she just accepts that it's the two of us. That must be lonely, Chloe said softly. Liam looked up, surprised by the directness. Yeah, he said. It is. Chloe traced the rim of her whiskey glass. I was married once, for about 5 minutes. She smiled without humor. Lasted 11 months. He wanted a wife who'd host dinner parties and manage his social calendar. I wanted to build an empire. She shrugged. Turns out those things don't mix well. No kids? Liam asked. No. Something flickered across her face. Regret, maybe, or relief. I told myself I'd wait until my 30s. Then my 30s became about building the company. Then it became too late. She met his eyes. Or maybe I was just too scared. Of what? Failing at something that mattered. The honesty landed between them like a shared secret. Liam realized slowly that this wasn't the woman who'd walked in wearing armor 90 minutes ago. This was someone underneath. Someone tired and brilliant and lonely in a way that mirrored his own. Why me? He asked again. Really? You could hire anyone, big agencies, people with national portfolios. Chloe considered the question. Because big agencies don't understand what it means to build something from scratch, she said finally. They've never had to choose between paying rent or investing in their business. They've never worked until 2 a.m. because that's the only time the house is quiet. She leaned forward. You have. I can see it in your work. Every logo you've designed has intention behind it. Nothing wasted, nothing superficial. She paused. That's what Bennett Collective needs right now. Not flash, not trends. Just clarity. Liam felt something shift inside him. A door he'd kept closed for 3 years creaking open. If I say yes, he began carefully, this stays professional. Boundaries, clear expectations. Agreed. And I need flexibility. I have a 6-year-old, school events, sick days. I can't drop everything for last-minute meetings. Understood. And I'm not relocating. I work from home. Always have. Chloe nodded. Most of the collaboration can be remote. We'll need face-to-face sessions for major milestones, but I can work around your schedule. Liam studied her. This woman had spent 2 hours defending her choices, explaining her vision, meeting him where he was instead of demanding he rise to meet her. Okay, he said finally. Chloe blinked. Okay? Let's talk details. Now, the details came fast. 6-month contract. Fixed rate plus performance bonuses tied to investor response. Full creative control with final approval from Chloe. Flexible hours. Remote work. Quarterly in-person strategy sessions in Austin. They shook hands across the table, her grip firm, professional, but warm. I'll have my legal team send over the contract by Friday, Chloe said. I'll review it over the weekend. She smiled. A real smile this time, not the polished version from earlier. Thank you, Liam. For what? For waiting. He didn't know what to say to that. They walked out together into the cool October night. The street was quiet now. Most of the restaurants closed, the Edison bulb swaying gently in the breeze. Chloe's car was parked near the corner, a sleek black Tesla that looked like it belonged in a magazine spread. Liam's truck sat 3 spaces down, dented and loyal. That's you? Chloe asked, nodding toward the Silverado. That's me. She laughed softly. I like it. Liar. No, really. She turned to face him. It's honest. They stood there for a moment, the city humming quietly around them. Good night, Liam, Chloe said. Good night. She walked toward her car, heels clicking against pavement. Liam climbed into his truck, started the engine, and sat there for a moment, hands on the wheel. His phone buzzed. Chloe. I meant what I said. Thank you for staying, he typed back slowly. Liam. I meant what I said too. This stays professional. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Chloe. Of course. Good night, Liam. He drove home through empty streets, past sleeping houses and flickering streetlights, and thought about the woman who'd walked into a restaurant 90 minutes late and changed everything. When he pulled into his driveway, his sister's car was still parked outside. He found her asleep on the couch, Ava curled against her side, both of them bathed in the soft glow of a muted TV. Liam stood in the doorway and watched his daughter breathe. 6 years old, blonde curls spilling across the cushions, one small hand clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. She was his entire world, and now maybe he had a chance to give her more than just scraped-together stability. He thought about Chloe's question. What was it like balancing work and fatherhood? Hard, he'd said. But tonight had been something else. Tonight had been possibility. He carried Ava to her room, tucked her in, kissed her forehead. Love you, baby girl, he whispered. She stirred slightly, mumbled something about crayons, and fell back asleep. Liam stood there in the dark, listening to her breathe, and made a promise. Whatever this contract brought, money, opportunity, complications, he wouldn't lose sight of what mattered. Ava came first, always. But maybe, just maybe, there was room for something else too. The contract arrived on Thursday, not Friday. Liam was making breakfast when the email notification chimed. Scrambled eggs burning slightly in the pan while Ava insisted her toast needed to be exactly medium brown, not dark brown, Daddy. He wiped his hands on a dish towel and opened his laptop with one elbow while flipping the eggs with the other. The subject line read, Bennett Collective, Brand Development Agreement. Attached was a 43-page PDF that looked like it had been drafted by lawyers who charged by the semicolon. He skimmed the first few pages. Compensation structure. Timeline. Deliverables. Confidentiality clauses dense enough to require a legal dictionary. His phone buzzed. Chloe. Sent it early. My team moves fast. Take your time reviewing. No pressure. Liam stared at the message. No pressure, she said, while attaching a contract that could change his entire financial trajectory. He typed back quickly. Liam. Received. I'll need a few days. Chloe. Of course. Let me know if you have questions. Professional. Clean. Exactly what he'd asked for. So why did it feel distant? Daddy, the eggs are smoking. Liam jerked back to reality. The pan hissed angrily. He yanked it off the burner and dumped the ruined eggs into the trash while Ava watched with the solemn judgment only a 6-year-old could muster. We're having cereal, he announced. Can I have the kind with marshmallows? Absolutely not. Please. Ava! She sighed dramatically, climbed into her chair, and accepted her fate of whole grain flakes with sliced banana. Liam sat across from her, laptop open, scrolling through the contract while she crunched loudly. Section 3.2. Intellectual Property Rights. Section 4.1. Performance Milestones. Section 5.3. Termination Conditions. His head was already spinning. What's that? Ava asked, milk dripping down her chin. Work stuff. Is it for the lady? Liam looked up. What lady? The one you went to see. Ava tilted her head. You said her name was Chloe. Yeah, it's for her company. Is she nice? Liam thought about the woman in the ivory suit who'd walked in 90 minutes late and offered him a contract instead of an apology. I think so, he said carefully. I don't know her very well yet. Do you like her? Ava, eat your cereal. But the question lingered long after he'd dropped her off at school and returned to the quiet house that always felt too big when she was gone. Did he like Chloe? He barely knew her. One dinner, 2 hours of conversation, a handshake, and a contract. That wasn't knowing someone. That was a transaction, but something about the way she'd looked at him when she said thank you for waiting had felt like more than business. He shook his head and opened the contract again. Focus. This was about Ava's future, not about some CEO who made his pulse quicken when she smiled. By noon, he'd made it through 20 pages and understood maybe half of them. By 2 p.m., he'd called a lawyer friend who owed him a favor from a logo job 2 years ago. Liam, this is a solid contract, Marcus said over speakerphone. Whoever drafted this knows what they're doing. Payment terms are clear. Milestones are reasonable. The IP clause protects both parties. So I should sign it. I didn't say that. Marcus paused. There's a non-compete buried in Section 8 says you can't take on hospitality clients for 18 months after the contract ends. Liam frowned. That's restrictive. It's standard for this kind of work. They're protecting their investment. Marcus's chair creaked. But you should negotiate it. 12 months instead of 18. Maybe add exceptions for small local clients. And if they say no, then you decide if the money's worth it. Liam stared at the ceiling. Triple his annual income. Ava's college fund. A new transmission. Yeah, he said quietly. It's worth it. Then get it in writing and sign the damn thing. He hung up and drafted an email to Chloe's legal team. Professional, polite, requesting amendments to Section 8. He hesitated before hitting send. This was real now. No turning back. He clicked the button. The response came within an hour. From Sarah Chen, General Counsel, Bennett Collective. Mr. Carter, Mrs. Bennett has approved your requested amendments. Revised contract attached. Please sign and return by end of business Monday. Liam opened the new PDF. Section 8 now read, 12 months, with exceptions for local clients under $50,000 annual revenue. She'd given him exactly what he asked for. No negotiation, no pushback, just yes. His phone buzzed. Chloe. Sarah said you had questions about the contract. Everything okay? Liam. All good. Thank you for being flexible. Chloe. You asked for something reasonable. I'm not going to fight over 12 months versus 18. Liam. Most CEOs would. Chloe. I'm not most CEOs. He smiled despite himself. Liam. I'm signing it this weekend. We start Monday? Chloe. If you're ready. Liam. I'm ready. Chloe. Good. I'll have my team send over the brand audit and current assets. See you Monday at 10. My office. Liam. I thought we were working remote. Chloe. We are. After the kickoff meeting, she sent an address downtown. It got 18th floor. Liam stared at his phone. Monday at 10 a.m., he'd walk into the offices of Bennett Collective as their lead brand designer. No more scraping by on coffee shop logos. No more 3 a.m. panic attacks about rent. Just a real contract, real money, real stakes. He should have felt relieved. Instead, he felt terrified. Monday morning came too fast. Liam stood in front of his closet at 7 a.m., staring at a row of shirts that all looked vaguely the same. Button-downs in shades of gray and blue. One blazer he'd worn to Claire's funeral and never touched again. Daddy, why are you so fancy? He turned. Ava stood in the doorway wearing mismatched pajamas and holding her stuffed rabbit by one ear. I have a meeting, he said. With the lady? Yeah, with Chloe. Ava climbed onto his bed and watched him button a charcoal shirt. Are you nervous? A little. Why? Because it's important. She considered this with the gravity of someone twice her age. Miss Rachel says if you're nervous, you should take deep breaths. Liam smiled. Miss Rachel's very smart. And you should picture everyone in their underwear. I don't think that applies here, baby.
Maturity.
He dropped Ava off at school 20 minutes early. She complained the whole way and made it downtown by 9:30. Parking cost $18. The elevator to the 18th floor smelled like expensive cologne and anxiety. Bennett Collective's offices were exactly what he'd expected. Glass walls, minimalist furniture, a reception desk made of reclaimed wood and brushed steel, abstract art that probably cost more than his truck, the kind of space designed to intimidate anyone who didn't belong. The receptionist smiled warmly. "You must be Liam Carter." "That's me." "Ms. Bennett is expecting you. Conference room B, down the hall, second door on your left." He walked slowly, taking in the details. Framed photos of Bennett properties lined the hallways. Sleek hotels with rooftop pools, rustic event spaces with exposed brick, restaurants that looked like they belonged in magazines. The conference room was smaller than he'd expected. A long table, 8 chairs, a wall of windows overlooking downtown Austin. Chloe sat at the far end, laptop open, reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked up when he entered. "Liam, right on time." She stood and crossed the room. Today she wore a slate blue dress and heels that made her nearly his height. Her handshake was firm, professional, exactly like the one from Tuesday night. But her smile was different, softer. "How was traffic?" she asked. "Fine, parking was brutal. I'll validate your ticket." She gestured toward the table. "Coffee? Water?" "Coffee. Black." She poured from a carafe on the sideboard and handed him a mug with the Bennett Collective logo. A clean, geometric design that looked dated the moment he saw it. Chloe caught his expression. "That bad?" "It's fine." "Liar." He laughed despite himself. "Okay. It's not great. That's why you're here." She sat down and opened a folder. "I had my team pull together everything we have. Current logo, website screenshots, marketing materials, social media templates." She slid the folder across the table. "Fair warning, it's a mess." Liam flipped through the pages. She wasn't wrong. The logo looked like it had been designed by committee. Too many elements competing for attention. Colors that didn't quite work together. Typography that screamed 2014. The website was cluttered. The social media graphics were inconsistent. Nothing felt cohesive. "This is fixable," he said. "I was hoping you'd say that." For the next hour, they talked strategy. Chloe walked him through Bennett Collective's history. Started 8 years ago with a single boutique hotel in San Antonio, grown through acquisitions and partnerships, now poised for national expansion. She spoke with precision and passion, hands moving as she described her vision. "We're not trying to be Marriott," she said. "We're not chasing scale for scale's sake. Every property has a story, a sense of place. I want the brand to reflect that." Liam took notes. "So, authenticity over polish." "Exactly. Warmth without being folksy." "Yes. Confidence without arrogance." Chloe leaned back in her chair. "You get it." "I do." She studied him for a moment, head tilted slightly. "You're different than I expected." "How so?" "Most designers would have walked in here with a pitch deck and a mood board. You walked in with questions." "I don't know your company yet," Liam said simply. "Can't design something meaningful without understanding what it means." Chloe smiled, the kind of smile that reached her eyes. "This is going to work," she said quietly. They broke for lunch at noon. Chloe ordered salads from a place downstairs, kale and quinoa for her, chicken Caesar for him. They ate in her office, a corner suite with floor-to-ceiling windows that made the city look small and manageable. "Tell me about Ava," Chloe said, spearing a piece of avocado. Liam looked up, surprised. "What about her?" "How's she handling you taking on a big project?" "She doesn't really know yet. I told her I'm working with a client." "You didn't mention me?" "She asked if you were nice," Liam admitted. Chloe raised an eyebrow. "And?" "I said I thought so." "Glowing review," he smiled. "She's 6. Her approval rating system is based entirely on whether you bring snacks." Chloe laughed. A real laugh, unguarded. "I'll remember that." They ate in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Chloe asked, "What was she like? Your wife?" The question landed softly, but Liam felt it anyway. "Claire was steady," he said after a pause. "I was the dreamer. She was the one who made sure we paid bills on time and remembered dentist appointments. He set down his fork. She would have loved this. Me taking a big contract. She always believed I could do more than local logos. She sounds wonderful. She was. Chloe nodded slowly. I'm sorry you lost her. Me too. Another silence settled between them. Not awkward, just present. Can I ask you something? Liam said. Of course. Why'd your marriage really end? Chloe blinked, caught off guard. I told you, we wanted different things. That's the polite version. She considered him for a long moment, then set down her fork. He cheated, she said simply, 6 months in, with his assistant. Very original. Her voice stayed even, but something sharp flickered beneath it. I found out because she sent me flowers on our anniversary. Thought they were from him. The card said, "Thanks for last night." Liam winced. Christ. I filed for divorce the next day. He tried to fight it. Said it was a mistake. She didn't mean anything. Chloe's jaw tightened. But the problem wasn't the affair. The problem was that he thought I'd forgive it because I was supposed to be the understanding wife. And you're not. No. She met his eyes. I'm not. Liam respected that. Do you trust anyone? He asked quietly. Chloe paused. I trust people who show me who they are, not people who tell me. And what did I show you? She smiled faintly. That you're patient, that you don't quit when things get hard, that you value integrity over ego. You got all that from me waiting at a restaurant? I got that from you not sending angry texts when you had every right to. Liam shook his head. You're giving me too much credit. Maybe. Or maybe you're not giving yourself enough. Bumped. By 3 p.m., they'd outlined the project roadmap. Phase 1, brand discovery and strategy. Interviews with Chloe's executive team. Competitive analysis. Defining core values and brand personality. Phase 2, visual identity development. Logo concepts. Color palettes. Typography systems. Phase 3, implementation, website redesign, marketing materials, brand guidelines. 6 months. Ambitious but achievable. Chloe walked him to the elevator when they finished. I'll send over contact info for my leadership team, she said. You'll need to interview them individually, get their perspectives. Sounds good. And Liam? He turned. Thank you, she said, for saying yes. You're paying me well. I should be thanking you. It's not about the money. Chloe's expression softened. I needed someone who'd care about this the way I do. Someone who wouldn't just phone it in. I don't know how to phone it in. I know. She smiled. That's why I hired you. The elevator dinged. Doors slid open. Liam stepped inside and turned to face her. See you next week? He asked. See you next week. The doors closed. He rode down 18 floors alone, his reflection staring back at him from polished steel, and wondered when exactly this had stopped feeling like just a job. The interviews started Wednesday. First up was Marcus Chen, Bennett Collective's chief operating officer. Mid-40s, precise, the kind of man who color-coded his calendar and answered emails at 5 a.m. They met in a conference room. Marcus had prepared a 40-slide presentation. Bennett Collective operates on 3 core principles, Marcus began, clicking to the first slide. Operational excellence, strategic growth, guest satisfaction. Liam took notes. By slide 20, he'd learned more about occupancy rates and revenue per available room than he ever wanted to know. What does Bennett Collective mean to you personally? Liam asked during a pause. Marcus blinked. What do you mean? Not the metrics, not the strategy. What does this company represent? Marcus looked uncomfortable. I'm not sure I understand the question. If Bennett Collective was a person, who would it be? That's not really my area. Liam tried a different angle. Why do you work here? Because Chloe runs a tight ship, clear expectations, room for advancement. Not because you believe in the mission? Marcus frowned. The mission is profitability. Liam made a note. Disconnect between operations and brand purpose. Next was Rachel Okonkwo, VP of Guest Experience. Early 30s, warm, the kind of person who remembered birthdays and sent handwritten thank you notes. Bennett Collective is about making people feel seen, Rachel said immediately. Every guest, every interaction, we're not just selling hotel rooms, we're selling memories. What's the best memory you've witnessed? Liam asked. Rachel's face lit up. Last year, a couple got engaged at our property in Fredericksburg. The guy had been planning it for months. He coordinated with our staff, arranged a private dinner on the patio. When he proposed, our chef sent out champagne and dessert. She smiled. The woman cried. The whole staff was crying. It was perfect. Well, that's what Bennett Collective should feel like, Liam said. Exactly. He made another note. Lead with emotion, not features. Third interview was David Park, Chief Financial Officer. Late 50s, skeptical, clearly annoyed at having to explain himself to a graphic designer. I don't understand why we're doing this, David said flatly. Our current brand works fine. Your investor deck says otherwise. David's expression hardened. Who told you that? Chloe mentioned you're expanding nationally, competing with bigger brands. That requires stronger visual identity. It requires capital and execution, not prettier logos. Liam leaned back. Do you like working here? What kind of question is that? A simple one, David sighed. I've been with Chloe since the beginning. Helped her secure the first round of funding when no one believed in her. His voice softened slightly. She's brilliant, but she's also stubborn. Sometimes she chases vision instead of profit. And you keep her grounded. Someone has to. Liam closed his notebook. What if the rebrand could do both, support the vision and increase profitability? David studied him. Then I'd say, show me the numbers. Deal. By Friday, Liam had interviewed 8 executives. The patterns were clear. Half of them saw Bennett Collective as a business, metrics, growth, efficiency. The other half saw it as a calling, hospitality, connection, impact. Chloe was trying to hold both together. He compiled his findings into a 12-page report and sent it over that evening. She called him at 9 p.m. You've been here 4 days and you already understand my company better than people who've worked here for years. Liam smiled. I'm good at listening. It's more than that. Chloe's voice sounded tired. You found the fracture I've been trying to ignore. Operations versus heart. Exactly. He heard her exhale. Marcus and David think I'm too idealistic. Rachel and the guest experience team think I'm too focused on growth. And I'm stuck in the middle trying to prove I can be both. You can be both, Liam said quietly. That's the point of the rebrand. Create a visual identity that honors both sides. You really think that's possible? I know it is. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Chloe said softly, Thank you, Liam. For what? For seeing what I'm trying to build. He wanted to say more, wanted to tell her that her vision wasn't just possible, but it was necessary. That companies built on profit alone crumbled eventually, but companies built on purpose could last. Instead, he said, Get some sleep, Chloe. She laughed quietly. You too. After they hung up, Liam sat in his dark living room, laptop glowing, and stared at the notes he'd compiled. Somewhere between the interviews and the late-night phone call, this had stopped being just a contract. It had become something else. Something that felt dangerously close to personal. Well, 2 weeks into the project, Chloe invited him to visit one of the properties. You need to see what we do in person, she said over video call, not just read about it. They chose the Bennett Hotel in Dripping Springs, a renovated ranch 40 minutes west of Austin, boutique and intimate, 23 rooms wrapped around a central courtyard. Liam drove out on a Saturday morning. Ava was with his sister for the weekend, giving him rare, uninterrupted work time. Chloe was waiting in the lobby when he arrived. She wore jeans and a white linen shirt, the most casual he'd seen her. No heels, no suit, just effortless elegance that made his breath catch slightly. You made it, she said. Traffic wasn't bad. She smiled. Come on, I'll show you around. They walked through the property slowly. She pointed out details he wouldn't have noticed. Reclaimed wood from the original barn, local art on every wall, handmade soaps in the bathrooms sourced from an Austin collective. Every choice is intentional, Chloe explained. We're not trying to be trendy. We're trying to be authentic. They stopped in the courtyard. String lights hung between live oak trees. A stone fire pit sat at the center, surrounded by Adirondack chairs. "This is where people connect," Chloe said. "Strangers become friends. Couples remember why they fell in love. Families slow down." Liam pulled out his phone and took photos. Not for reference, just because the light was beautiful. "What are you thinking?" Chloe asked. "That your brand should feel like this place feels." "Which is?" "Warm, grounded, like coming home." She looked at him for a long moment. "That's exactly right," she said softly. They had lunch on the patio, wood-fired pizzas and iced tea. Chloe asked about Ava, about his design process, about what he loved most about fatherhood. Liam found himself answering honestly, without the usual filters. "The best part is watching her discover things," he said. "Last week she learned that clouds are made of water. Blew her mind. She stood in the backyard for 20 minutes just staring at the sky." Chloe smiled. "She sounds amazing." "She is." "Do you ever worry about doing it alone?" "Every day." Liam set down his glass. "I worry I'm screwing her up, that she needs a mom, that I'm not enough." "You're enough," Chloe said firmly. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." She leaned forward. "Because you're here, instead of taking the easy route. You're building something for her. That matters." Liam felt something tighten in his chest. "Why do you care?" he asked quietly. Chloe hesitated. "Because I see how hard you're trying, and I respect the hell out of it." The words hung between them. Then Chloe's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and sighed. "Emergency," she said. "One of our Colorado properties. Permit issue." "Go. Handle it." She stood reluctantly. "I'm sorry. I wanted to show you the event barn." "Next time." "Next time," she echoed. She walked toward the lobby, phone pressed to her ear, problem-solving before she'd even left the courtyard. Liam sat there alone, sunlight filtering through oak branches, and realized something that scared him. He was starting to care about more than just the contract. He was starting to care about her, Tit. That night, Ava called from his sister's house. "Daddy, we made cookies." "That's great, baby. Aunt Kim says I can have 3. Is that okay?" "Sure." "Are you having fun with the lady?" Liam frowned. "What lady?" "Chloe. Aunt Kim said you went to see her hotel." He made a mental note to have words with his sister. "It's for work, Ava." "Do you like her?" "She's my client." "But do you like her?" Liam closed his eyes. 6 years old, and already she could see right through him. "Yeah," he admitted. "I think I do." "Good. You should." "Why's that?" "Because you smile when you talk about her." After they hung up, Liam sat on his couch in the dark and thought about the way Chloe had looked at him across the table, the way she'd said, "You're enough," like she meant it. His phone buzzed. "Chloe, sorry for cutting things short. Crisis averted. Thank you for today." Liam, "Anytime." Chloe, "I mean it. You see things other people miss." Liam, "So do you." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Chloe, "This is becoming more than just a contract, isn't it?" His heart stopped. He stared at the message for a full minute before typing back. Liam, "Yeah, it is." Chloe, "Is that okay?" Liam, "I don't know yet." Chloe, "Me neither." Liam, "But I'm not running." Chloe, "Good. Neither am I." Liam set down his phone and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere between the contract signing and the interviews and the visit to Dripping Springs, the boundaries had blurred. This wasn't just business anymore. It was something else entirely. And for the first time in 3 years, he wasn't terrified. He was ready. The logo concepts came to him at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Liam sat at his kitchen table surrounded by sketches that all felt wrong, too corporate, too trendy, too forgettable. His coffee had gone cold hours ago. His back ached from hunching over his tablet. Ava's crayon drawing still hung on the refrigerator, a reminder that morning would come too soon and he'd be useless without sleep. But he couldn't stop. Something Chloe had said kept circling back. "We're not trying to be Marriott. Every property has a story." He pushed aside the complicated designs and started over. Simple. Honest. a mark that could stand alone or disappear into the background, depending on what the moment needed. By 3 a.m., he had it. A geometric interpretation of a doorway, clean lines forming an arch, negative space creating depth. It could represent entry, threshold, welcome. It worked in any color. It scaled beautifully. Most importantly, it felt like belonging. He sent the concept to Chloe with a single line. This is it. Her response came at 3:07 a.m. Chloe. You're awake. Liam. So are you. Chloe. Investor deck. You? Liam. Couldn't sleep until I solved it. Chloe. Opening the file now. He waited, heart hammering stupidly. This was professional, just a designer sending work to a client. It shouldn't feel like standing on the edge of something. His phone rang. He answered. You hate it. I love it. Chloe's voice was soft, almost reverent. Liam, this is exactly what I've been trying to articulate for 8 years and couldn't. Relief flooded through him. Yeah? It's perfect. It's us. He heard rustling, like she was moving through her apartment. How did you do this? I stopped trying to impress you and started trying to understand you. Silence stretched between them. Then Chloe said quietly, Can I ask you something? Of course. Why are you still awake, really? Liam leaned back in his chair, staring at the darkened kitchen. Because this matters, not just the contract, the work itself. I want to get it right. You already have. There's still the full brand system, color palette, typography, applications. I know, she paused. But you could have sent this tomorrow. Why now? He didn't have a good answer, or maybe he did and wasn't ready to say it out loud. I wanted you to see it, he admitted finally. At 3 a.m. At 3 a.m. Another pause, longer this time. Liam? Yeah? I think about you more than I should. His breath caught. I think about you too, he said. This complicates things. I know. We should probably talk about it. We should. But not at 3 a.m. He smiled despite himself. No, not at 3 a.m. Get some sleep, Chloe said softly. We'll present this to the team on Thursday. Okay. And Liam? Yeah? Thank you for caring this much. After they hung up, he sat in the dark kitchen for another 20 minutes, staring at the logo on his screen and trying to untangle what was happening. He was falling for his client. Worse, she was falling back, and neither of them seemed willing to stop it. Thursday's presentation was held in the same conference room where they'd first strategized. This time, the table was full. Marcus Chen sat at Chloe's right, arms crossed, expression neutral. Rachel Okonkwo practically vibrated with anticipation. David Park looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. The rest of the executive team filled the remaining seats. Marketing, operations, development. Liam stood at the front, laptop connected to the large monitor. Chloe caught his eye and nodded slightly. You've got this. He clicked to the first slide. Bennett Collective isn't trying to be the biggest hospitality company, he began. You're trying to be the most meaningful. The question isn't how many properties you own. It's how many lives you've touched. Rachel smiled. David shifted in his seat. Your current brand doesn't communicate that, Liam continued. It's cluttered, dated. It looks like you're trying to compete on features instead of leading with purpose. He clicked to the next slide. Their old logo, blown up large enough to expose every flaw. This tells me you're generic, forgettable, just another option in a crowded market. Marcus frowned. We've used that logo for 6 years. I know, and it served you well when you were smaller, but you're not small anymore. Liam clicked again. The new logo filled the screen. Simple, elegant. The doorway rendered in deep charcoal, the negative space creating dimension. The room went quiet. Rachel leaned forward. Oh. This is a threshold, Liam explained. It represents entry, welcome, belonging. It works alone or as part of a larger system. It scales from business cards to building signage. Most importantly, it feels like the properties you build. He walked them through applications. The logo on hotel key cards, embossed on leather-bound menus, projected onto the side of a building. He showed color palettes inspired by the Dripping Springs property. Warm neutrals, touches of sage and terracotta, always grounded in earth tones. The typography is clean but not cold, he said, clicking through font pairings. Readable but distinctive. We're not shouting, we're inviting. He presented the full brand system, patterns derived from the logo, photography guidelines emphasizing real moments over staged perfection, a voice and tone guide that balanced professionalism with warmth. 43 slides, 22 minutes. When he finished, silence filled the room. Then Rachel started clapping. "This is incredible," she said. "This is exactly who we are." Marcus studied the screen. "It's a significant departure from our current direction." "That's the point," Chloe said quietly. She'd been silent throughout the presentation, but now all eyes turned to her. "We've been playing it safe, looking like everyone else. This gives us an identity worth remembering." David cleared his throat. "What's the implementation cost?" "Less than you'd think," Liam said. "We phase it in. Website first, then marketing materials. Physical spaces get updated during regular renovation cycles. Timeline? 3 months for digital rollout, 6 months for complete implementation." David made notes. "I'll need to see detailed budget projections. I'll have them by Monday." The CFO nodded slowly. Not enthusiastic, but not hostile either. "Progress." Marcus spoke next. "I have concerns about brand recognition. We've built equity in our current logo." "Have you?" Liam challenged gently. "Or have you built equity in your properties, your service, your reputation? The logo is just the symbol. The brand is everything underneath." Marcus considered this. "He's right," Chloe said. "We're not starting over. We're clarifying what already exists." The conversation continued for another 30 minutes. Questions about color accessibility, discussions about sub-branding for different property types, debates about how aggressive the rollout should be. Through it all, Liam answered with confidence and clarity. He'd lived with this brand system for weeks. He knew every decision, every rationale, every backup option. Finally, Chloe stood. "We're moving forward," she announced. "Full implementation. Liam has my approval to proceed to phase 3. A few nods around the table. Rachel beamed. David looked resigned but not opposed. The meeting adjourned. People filed out, some stopping to shake Liam's hand, others offering cautious congratulations. Rachel hugged him enthusiastically. "You just changed everything," she whispered. Soon, only Chloe remained. She walked to the monitor and stood there, studying the logo with an expression Liam couldn't quite read. "You okay?" he asked. "I'm looking at the future of my company." She turned to face him. "Do you understand what you've done?" "Designed a logo?" "No." She stepped closer. "You've given me the language to explain what I've been building. For 8 years, I've struggled to articulate the difference between Bennett Collective and everyone else. Now I can just point to this." Her eyes were bright, not tears exactly, something deeper. "Thank you," she said. "You already thanked me." "I'll probably thank you 100 more times before this is over." They stood there in the empty conference room, the logo still glowing on the screen behind her, and Liam felt the boundaries shift again. "Chloe, I know," she interrupted gently. "We need to talk, really talk." "Yeah, but not here, not now." She glanced toward the door. "Saturday, my place. No agendas, no presentations, just us." His pulse quickened. "What about Ava?" "Bring her," Liam blinked. "What?" "You said she wanted to meet me." Chloe's expression softened. "I'd like to meet her too, if that's okay." Something shifted in his chest, fear and hope tangled together. "Yeah," he said quietly. "That's okay." Saturday arrived wrapped in anxiety and possibility. Liam stood in Ava's doorway at 9 a.m., watching her try on 3 different outfits before settling on the first one. "Is this too fancy?" she asked, spinning in a blue sundress. "It's perfect." "What if she doesn't like me?" "Impossible." "Daddy?" She looked at him seriously. "What if I don't like her?" That stopped him. He sat on the edge of her bed. "Then we leave. No pressure, no expectations. We're just meeting someone new." But you like her. I do. Like her? Liam smiled despite his nerves. Yeah. Like. Ava processed this with the gravity of someone deciding the fate of nations. Okay. But if she's mean to you, I'm telling her to leave. Deal. Chloe's apartment was downtown, 18th floor, same building as her office. She'd given him the code to the parking garage and detailed directions that felt almost nervous in their precision. The elevator ride up felt endless. Ava held his hand and didn't let go. Chloe answered the door in jeans and a soft gray sweater, barefoot, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked younger like this. Less CEO, more human. Her gaze went immediately to Ava. You must be Ava, she said, crouching to eye level. I've heard so much about you. Ava stepped slightly behind Liam's leg. Hi. I like your dress. Blue's my favorite color. Me too, Chloe smiled. We already have something in common. She straightened and stepped back, gesturing them inside. The apartment was spacious but surprisingly warm. Exposed brick. Wide windows overlooking the city. Shelves full of books and framed photos. A kitchen that looked actually used, not just decorative. I made cookies, Chloe said. Chocolate chip. I hope that's okay. Ava's eyes went wide. You made cookies? Well, I tried. Fair warning, I'm not a great baker. She led them to the kitchen where a plate of slightly irregular cookies sat cooling on the counter. Ava took one tentatively, bit into it, and her face lit up. These are good. Really? Chloe looked genuinely relieved. I thought I overbaked them. Nope. Perfect. Liam watched the exchange, something loosening in his chest. They spent the morning on Chloe's balcony. She'd set up activities, coloring books, building blocks, a small telescope for looking at distant buildings. Ava warmed up gradually, asking questions with increasing confidence. Do you have kids? Ava asked while stacking blocks. No, Chloe said gently. Why not? I was too busy with work. Sometimes I regret that. You could still have kids. You're not that old. Liam nearly choked on his coffee. Ava, Chloe laughed. She's right. I'm not ancient yet. Do you want kids? Ava pressed. Chloe glanced at Liam, then back to Ava. I think so, if I found the right person. But my daddy's the right person. Ava! Liam's face burned, but Chloe just smiled. I think you might be right about that. Later, while Ava was absorbed in the telescope, Chloe and Liam stood by the railing, watching the city move below them. She's wonderful, Chloe said quietly. She likes you. How can you tell? She's not hiding behind me anymore. And she's asking personal questions. That's how she decides if people are safe. Chloe turned to look at him. Am I safe? I don't know yet, Liam admitted, but I want you to be. She reached out slowly, giving him time to pull away, and took his hand. Her fingers laced through his, warm and certain. I'm terrified, she confessed. I haven't done this in years, and never with someone who has a child. I'm terrified too. What are we doing, Liam? I don't know, but I don't want to stop. Ava's voice broke the moment. Daddy, I can see a bird on that building. They separated naturally, the space between them charged with everything unsaid. Lunch was sandwiches and fruit on the balcony. Ava told elaborate stories about her kindergarten class, while Chloe listened with genuine interest, asking follow-up questions that showed she was actually paying attention. Miss Rachel says I'm good at sharing, Ava announced proudly. That's an important skill, Chloe said. Daddy says sharing is how we make friends. Your daddy's very smart. Ava considered this. Are you and Daddy friends? Chloe glanced at Liam. We're getting there. Good. Daddy needs more friends. After lunch, Ava started to fade. The early morning excitement caught up with her. She curled up on Chloe's couch with a blanket, eyes drooping. She'll crash soon, Liam said quietly. We should probably go. Or you could stay. Chloe hesitated. If you want, we could talk while she naps. Liam looked at his daughter, already half asleep, then at Chloe standing in her living room looking vulnerable and hopeful. Yeah, he said. We can stay. Ava fell asleep within minutes, curled under a throw blanket with her thumb in her mouth, a habit she was supposed to have outgrown but reverted to when exhausted. Liam and Chloe moved to the balcony, leaving the sliding door cracked so they could hear if Ava woke. "She's beautiful," Chloe said, settling into one of the patio chairs. "Takes after her mom. I see you in her too. The way she thinks before she speaks. The kindness." Liam sat across from her. "She asked me this morning what happens if she doesn't like you. And what did you say?" "That we'd leave. No pressure." Chloe nodded slowly. "And what happens if I'm the one who screws this up?" "Are you planning to?" "No, but I don't have a great track record with relationships." "Neither do I. My wife died. I haven't dated since." "Why now?" Chloe asked. "Why me?" Liam thought about the question. About the woman who'd walked into a restaurant 90 minutes late and offered him clarity instead of apologies. "Because you see me," he said finally. "Not just the designer you hired, not just the single dad. All of it." "I could say the same about you." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the city humming quietly below. "This is complicated," Chloe said. "Very. You're still technically my contractor. For 4 more months. And you have a daughter who needs stability. Always. And I have a company that demands most of my time and energy." "I know." Chloe leaned forward, elbows on her knees. "So where does that leave us?" Liam met her eyes, honest with each other, taking it slow, no promises we can't keep. "And if it doesn't work? Then we figure it out like adults. The contract stays professional. We don't make Ava collateral damage. You've thought about this." "Every night for 3 weeks." Chloe smiled faintly. "Me too." She reached across the small table between them. Liam took her hand. "I want to try," she said. "Really try. Not just see what happens, but actually commit to figuring this out." "So do I. Even though it's messy and complicated and probably a terrible idea?" "Especially because of that." Chloe laughed quietly. "We're either very brave or very stupid." "Maybe both." They sat there holding hands while the afternoon stretched long and golden around them, and for the first time in 3 years, Liam let himself believe in possibility. The weeks that followed developed their own rhythm. Work continued. Liam refined the brand system, developed marketing templates, collaborated with Chloe's team on website wireframes. But the boundaries between professional and personal grew increasingly blurred. Late-night phone calls that started with project updates and ended with personal confessions. Coffee meetings that turned into long walks around the city. Strategy sessions in her office that somehow always ran over because they couldn't stop talking. Ava became part of it too. Chloe started joining them for Sunday morning pancakes at Liam's house. She wasn't trying to be Ava's mother. She was careful about that, respectful of Claire's memory. But she showed up. She asked questions. She learned that Ava liked her pancakes with faces made of blueberries and that she refused to wear socks that didn't match. "You're good with her," Liam said one Sunday while Ava colored at the kitchen table. Chloe was washing dishes, something she'd started doing without being asked. "I'm learning." Most people would find this overwhelming. The kid, the routine, all of it. "I'm not most people." "No," Liam agreed. "You're not." She turned to face him, hands still wet with soap. "Do you ever worry I'm going to wake up and realize this is too much?" "Every day." "I'm not going anywhere, Liam." You say that now." "I mean it now." She dried her hands and moved closer. "I know I'm new to this. I know I'll make mistakes, but I'm not running just because it's hard." Ava looked up from her drawing. "Are you guys going to kiss?" They both froze. "Ava," Liam started. "Miss Rachel says people who like each other kiss sometimes. Do you like each other?" Chloe crouched beside Ava's chair. "We do like each other. Is that okay with you?" Ava studied her seriously. "Will you be nice to my daddy?" "Always." "And you won't leave?" Chloe's expression softened. "I'm going to try my very hardest not to." "Okay then." Ava returned to her coloring. "You can kiss if you want." Liam and Chloe looked at each other across the kitchen. He stepped closer. She tilted her face up. Their first kiss was soft and tentative, mindful of the 6-year-old watching with frank curiosity 3 feet away. It tasted like maple syrup and coffee, and the beginning of something neither of them could name yet. When they pulled apart, Ava nodded approvingly. That was good, she announced. You should do it again. Chloe laughed, her forehead resting against Liam's. Permission granted. Later, Liam said, though he was smiling. When you're in bed. I'm never going to bed again, Ava declared. But she fell asleep by 8 p.m., exhausted from a day at the park. Liam tucked her in while Chloe waited in the living room, and when he came back out, she was studying the photos on his mantel. Claire smiled from half of them, young, vibrant, frozen in moments Liam had loved and lost. She was beautiful, Chloe said softly. Yeah. Do you still love her? The question was gentle, not jealous. I'll always love her, Liam said honestly. She gave me Ava. She taught me what it meant to build a life with someone. But she's gone, and I can't live in the past forever. Chloe turned to face him. I'm not trying to replace her. I know, you're not the same kind of person. You're your own thing entirely. He moved closer. That's what I love about you. The word hung between them. Love. He'd said it without thinking. Now it was out there, real and vulnerable. Chloe's breath caught. Liam, I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring this out, but She kissed him. Deeper this time, without a 6-year-old audience, without hesitation. Her hands tangled in his hair, his arms wrapped around her waist. They stumbled backward until she was pressed against the wall, both of them breathing hard. I love you too, she whispered against his mouth. I've been trying not to. Trying to be smart and cautious and professional. But I love you. They stood there in the dim living room, holding each other like lifelines, and let the truth settle around them. This was happening, messy and complicated and terrifying, and neither of them was running. The brand launch was scheduled for early March, 6 weeks away. Enough time to finalize everything, but close enough to feel urgent. Chloe's investor presentation was set for the same week. The new brand would debut alongside announcements about Colorado expansion, new partnerships, and a strategic vision that would position Bennett Collective as a national leader. Everything hinged on the next 6 weeks. Liam worked longer hours, refining details, testing applications, collaborating with developers on the website redesign. Some nights he worked from Chloe's apartment while she handled her own deadlines. They'd sit on opposite ends of her couch, laptops glowing, occasionally looking up to share a thought or steal a kiss. Ava adapted. She started calling Chloe by name instead of the lady. She invited her to school events. She saved drawings to show her. One night, tucking Ava into bed, his daughter asked, Is Chloe going to be my new mom? Liam's heart stopped. Do you want her to be? I don't know. I never had a mom I could remember. You had one. She loved you very much. I know. Ava picked at her blanket. But Chloe's here now, and she's nice, and she makes you smile. She does. So maybe it's okay if she stays. Liam kissed her forehead. Maybe it is. He told Chloe about the conversation later that night over the phone. She asked if you were going to be her new mom. Silence on the other end. Chloe, I'm here. Her voice was thick. What did you say? That you're here now, and you make me smile. Do I scare you? She asked quietly. The idea of me in that role? Terrify me. But you're already in that role. You show up. You care. You're building something with us. He paused. The only question is whether you want to be. I do, Chloe said immediately. I want all of it. The chaos and the pancakes and the bedtime stories. I want to be part of your family. Even though it means less freedom, less time for work. Especially because of that. She exhaled slowly. I've spent 8 years building a company. Maybe it's time I build a life too. 3 weeks before launch, David Park requested a meeting. Liam showed up at Bennett Collective offices expecting pushback about budget or implementation timelines. Instead, David slid a folder across the conference table. Projected ROI on the rebrand, the CFO said, based on early investor feedback and market analysis. Liam opened the folder. The numbers were staggering. Brand recognition up 38%. Investor confidence increased. Projected revenue growth exceeding initial estimates. This works, David said simply. I didn't think it would, but you proved me wrong. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. David leaned back. Chloe's putting everything on this launch. If it fails, it won't. You're confident. I'm certain. David studied him. You care about her, don't you? Liam met his eyes. Yes. Good. The CFO's expression softened slightly. She needs someone who gives a damn. Too many people just want access to her success. I'm not one of them. I know. That's why I'm telling you this. David tapped the folder. Don't let her down. I won't. 2 weeks before launch, everything started falling into place. Website went live for beta testing. Marketing materials were printed. Press releases drafted. Investor decks finalized. Chloe was running on 4 hours of sleep and pure determination. Liam found her in her office at midnight on a Thursday, staring at her laptop with exhausted eyes. Come home, he said from the doorway. She looked up, surprised. I thought you were with Ava. She's with my sister. I came to get you. Liam, I have nothing that can't wait until morning. He walked into the office and closed her laptop gently. You're running yourself into the ground. I'm fine. You're not. Liam pulled her to her feet and wrapped his arms around her. She collapsed against him, tension draining. It's going to work, he said quietly, because it's true. It's who you actually are. How do you know? Because I know you. She pulled back slightly, looking up at him. When did you become the steady one? When you needed me to be. They stood there in her empty office, city lights glowing through the windows, and let the fear and hope tangle together. Take me home, Chloe whispered. Yours or mine? Ours. The words settled between them like a promise. 1 week before launch, Liam received an unexpected call. A competitor had seen early press about Bennett Collective's rebrand. They wanted to hire him. National campaign, triple what Chloe was paying. He declined without hesitation. You didn't even negotiate, the recruiter said, confused. I'm exactly where I need to be. When he told Chloe, she cried. You could have taken that job, she said. No, I couldn't. Why not? Because this isn't just a contract anymore. This is my family. This is everything. 3 days before launch, they did a final walkthrough. Website live, marketing materials distributed, press preview scheduled, investor presentation polished, everything was ready. Chloe stood in the middle of her office, looking at the new logo projected on the wall, and smiled. We did it, she said. You did it, Liam corrected. I just helped you see it. She turned to face him. Will you be there? At the launch event? Front row. With Ava? If she wants to come. I want her there. Chloe moved closer. I want both of you there. Always. The night before the launch, Liam couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Chloe slept beside him, her breathing soft and steady. Tomorrow would change everything. For Bennett Collective. For Chloe. For all of them. He thought about the blind date that almost didn't happen. The woman who'd walked in late wearing the wrong dress. The contract that had turned into something immeasurably more. Chloe stirred beside him. You're awake. Yeah. Nervous? Terrified. She rolled over to face him. Me too. We're going to be okay, Liam said. All of us. Promise? Promise. She kissed him softly, then settled against his chest. I love you, she whispered. I love you too. They fell asleep tangled together, and when morning came, they were ready. The launch event was held at the Dripping Springs property, the same place where Liam had first understood what Bennett Collective truly meant. Morning arrived crisp and clear, the kind of March day that made Texas feel like the promised land. Liam stood in his bedroom at 6 a.m., staring at 2 shirts he'd laid out on the bed, unable to decide which one communicated confident designer who definitely hasn't been awake since 4 a.m. second-guessing every decision. His phone buzzed. Chloe. Can't sleep, can't eat, can't stop checking the weather forecast like it matters. Liam. It's going to be perfect. Chloe. You don't know that. Liam. I know you. Same thing. 3 dots appeared and disappeared twice before her response came through. Chloe. I'm glad you're mine. Liam. Always. He chose the navy shirt, woke Ava gently, and spent 20 minutes convincing her that yes, She had to wear the dress they'd picked out together. And no, her light-up sneakers were not appropriate for a professional event. But they're so cool, Daddy. They are cool. But today we need fancy shoes. She pouted dramatically, but eventually surrendered to the Mary Janes that pinched her toes and made her walk funny. They were halfway to Dripping Springs when Ava asked, "Is Chloe going to be okay?" Liam glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "What do you mean?" "She seemed scared yesterday when she came over." He'd forgotten how perceptive 6-year-olds could be. Chloe had stopped by the night before to review final details, and beneath her polished exterior, her anxiety had been palpable. "She's nervous," Liam said. "This is a really big day for her company. But you made it pretty. Everyone's gonna love it." "I hope so, baby." "They will." Ava said it with the absolute certainty of someone who'd never experienced professional failure. And then she won't be scared anymore. If only it were that simple. The property had been transformed overnight, the new logo projected onto the main building in subtle lighting, signage updated throughout the grounds. Every detail aligned with the brand system Liam had built from scratch. He parked in the designated area and helped Ava out of the truck. She immediately spotted the string lights in the courtyard and gasped. "It's like a fairy tale." "Close enough." They found Chloe near the entrance, deep in conversation with her events coordinator. She wore an emerald green dress that made her look like power and grace distilled into human form. Her hair was swept up, revealing the elegant line of her neck, and for a moment Liam forgot how to breathe. She turned, saw them, and her entire expression transformed. The CEO vanished. The woman remained. "You came," she said, crossing to them. "Wouldn't miss it." She crouched down to Ava's level. "You look absolutely beautiful." Ava beamed. "You too. Your dress is so pretty." "Thank you, sweetheart." Chloe glanced up at Liam. "Can I steal your dad for just a minute?" "Okay, but bring him back. I promise." Chloe led him around the side of the building where they had a moment of relative privacy. The moment they were out of sight, her composure cracked. "I can't do this," she whispered. "Yes, you can. There are 200 people coming, investors, press, competitors. What if they hate it? What if—" He kissed her. Not gently, not tentatively, with all the certainty she'd lost somewhere between midnight and dawn. When he pulled back, her eyes were wide. "They're going to love it," he said firmly, "because it's brilliant, because it's true, because you've spent 8 years building something worth celebrating." He cupped her face. "And I'll be right there the whole time. Front row. Believing in you, even when you can't." Her eyes glistened. "I love you. I love you too. Now go be the CEO who changed everything." She nodded, straightened her shoulders, and let the armor slide back into place. By the time they returned to the courtyard, she was Chloe Bennett again. Composed, confident, ready. The guests started arriving at 10 a.m. Investors in expensive suits, journalists with cameras and recording devices, industry professionals who'd driven from Dallas and Houston and San Antonio, local officials who smelled photo opportunities. Liam found seats in the third row, close enough to matter, but far enough back that Ava could fidget without disrupting anyone important. His sister had agreed to come as backup, arriving just after they sat down and immediately entertaining Ava with a game on her phone. "You good?" Kim whispered to Liam. "Ask me in an hour." "She's lucky to have you." "I'm lucky to have her." Kim smiled knowingly. "Yeah, you are." At exactly 11 a.m., Rachel Okonkwo stepped to the podium. "Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us at what we believe is a pivotal moment for Bennett Collective." Her warmth carried across the courtyard. 8 years ago, Chloe Bennett had a vision, not just to build hotels, but to create spaces where people felt seen, valued, home. The crowd settled into attentive silence. Today, that vision becomes clearer than ever. Please welcome Bennett Collective's founder and CEO, Chloe Bennett. Applause rippled through the courtyard as Chloe took the stage. She looked calm, centered, exactly the leader her company needed. 8 years ago, I opened my first property with 3 employees in a dream that most people called unrealistic. Her voice carried without strain. They said hospitality was saturated, that boutique hotels couldn't compete with major chains, that focusing on experience over expansion was financial suicide. A few knowing laughs from the crowd. They were wrong. She clicked to the first slide. Growth charts showing Bennett Collective's trajectory. Modest beginnings, steady climb. Explosive recent growth. We succeeded because we never forgot why we started. Every property tells a story. Every guest matters. Every detail reflects our commitment to authenticity. She paused. But our visual identity didn't reflect that commitment. Until now. The screen went dark. Then the new logo appeared, simple and powerful against black. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Chloe let the image speak for itself before continuing. This is who we've always been. A threshold, a welcome, a place where strangers become friends and moments become memories. She advanced through slides showing applications, the logo on everything from key cards to building facades. Our rebrand isn't about chasing trends. It's about clarity, about showing the world what we've been building all along. She talked about expansion plans, new properties in Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, partnerships with sustainable suppliers, commitments to local communities. The presentation was flawless, but what struck Liam wasn't the data or the projections. It was watching Chloe command the room with quiet authority, owning every word, every decision, every risk she'd taken. This was the woman he loved, not just brilliant or beautiful or successful, but courageous enough to bet everything on what she believed. When she finished, the applause was thunderous. Journalists surrounded her immediately. Investors lined up for private conversations. The events coordinator tried to manage the chaos while Rachel beamed with vindicated pride. Liam stayed in his seat, Ava now drowsy against his shoulder. "She did good, huh?" Kim said. "She did perfect." 2 hours later, after the formal presentations ended and the crowd thinned to casual networking, Chloe finally extracted herself and found them near the fire pit. Ava had fallen asleep in Liam's lap, exhausted from the excitement and the early morning. "Is she okay?" Chloe whispered. "Just tired. It's been a big day." Chloe sat beside them, careful not to jostle Ava. "For all of us. You were incredible up there. I was terrified the entire time." "Didn't show." She leaned her head against his shoulder. 3 investors want to increase their stakes. 2 different publications want feature stories, and someone from a national hotel group asked if we'd consider acquisition. Liam's chest tightened. "Acquisition?" I said no immediately. She looked up at him. "This is mine. Ours. I'm not selling it to become someone's subsidiary." Relief flooded through him. "Good." They sat there in the afternoon sun, Ava sleeping peacefully between them, and watched the property they'd transformed together buzz with new possibility. "What happens now?" Liam asked. "Now we execute. Roll out the rebrand across all properties. Launch the new website publicly. Start the Colorado expansion." She paused. "And I was hoping you'd stay on. The contract's almost up." "I know. That's why I'm asking you to extend it. Not as a contractor." She turned to face him fully. "As creative director of Bennett Collective." His breath caught. "Chloe, full-time position, competitive salary, benefits, creative autonomy. You'd oversee all brand development, work with property managers on visual consistency, mentor junior designers." Her eyes searched his. "You'd be part of the leadership team. That's a huge commitment." "I know." "What about Ava? School pickups, sick days, all of it. We build the role around your life, not the other way around." Chloe's voice softened. "I'm not asking you to choose between your daughter and your career. I'm asking you to believe we can make both work." Liam looked down at Ava, then back at Chloe. A year ago, he'd been scraping by on coffee shop logos and panic attacks about rent. Now he had a woman he loved offering him a future he'd never imagined. "Can I think about it?" he asked. "Of course. Take all the time you need." But even as he said it, he already knew his answer. The celebration continued into evening. Caterers brought out food from the property's restaurant. A local band set up near the courtyard. String lights created magic as the sun set behind the hills. Ava woke up refreshed and immediately found other children whose parents had brought them. Liam watched her run through the courtyard, laughing, and felt something settle deep in his chest. This could be their life. Not struggling, not surviving, actually thriving. Chloe appeared beside him with 2 glasses of wine. "She's having fun," she observed. "She loves it here." "Good. Because I was thinking..." Chloe hesitated. What if you two moved in with me? Liam nearly dropped his wine. What? My apartment's huge, 3 bedrooms. Ava could have her own space. You'd have a proper office instead of working at your kitchen table. She spoke quickly, nervous. I know it's fast, but we're already spending every night together anyway, and I hate saying goodbye when you leave. Chloe, that's too much. I'm sorry. Forget I said anything. That's perfect, he finished. She blinked. What? It's perfect. All of it. The job, the apartment, building a life together. He set down his wine and took her hands. I want all of it. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. She kissed him there in the fading light while the party swirled around them, and Liam felt the last pieces of his carefully guarded heart click into place. Later that night, after Ava had been tucked into one of the property's guest rooms with Kim standing guard, Liam and Chloe walked the grounds alone. The party had wound down. Staff was cleaning up. The logo still glowed softly on the building's facade. I can't believe we pulled it off, Chloe said. You pulled it off. I just helped. Don't diminish what you did. She stopped walking and turned to face him. You saw something in me I couldn't see in myself. You gave me language for the vision I'd been chasing for 8 years. You made me believe it was possible. You made me believe I could be more than a struggling freelancer barely keeping his head above water. You were always more than that. I didn't feel like it. Until you. They stood there on the property that had brought them together, and Liam thought about the chain of unlikely events that had led to this moment. A blind date he almost skipped, a woman who showed up late in the wrong dress, a contract that became a calling, and somehow, impossibly, love. I'm keeping you, Chloe said softly. You know that, right? Good, because I'm not going anywhere. Even when I'm impossible? Especially then. She laughed and pulled him closer. What did I do to deserve you? You waited for me to show up. Best decision I ever made. They kissed under a sky full of stars, and for the first time in 3 years, Liam wasn't looking backward at what he'd lost. He was looking forward at what he'd found. The following week moved in a blur of logistics and transitions. Liam signed the employment contract with Bennett Collective. The salary made him want to cry. Enough to fully fund Ava's college account, replace the truck, and still have money left over. They started moving his things into Chloe's apartment. Ava got the 2nd bedroom, which she immediately declared the best room she'd ever had because it had a window seat where she could read. Can I paint it purple? She asked. Whatever color you want, sweetheart, Chloe said. Liam's home office became the 3rd bedroom. Chloe had it outfitted with proper equipment, dual monitors, ergonomic chair, a drafting table for when he wanted to sketch by hand. This is too much, he protested. You're my creative director. You need the right tools. I mean all of it, the job, the apartment, the way you're just absorbing us into your life. Chloe set down the box she'd been unpacking and crossed to him. You're not being absorbed. You're being invited. She took his hands. I spent 8 years building a company and calling it a life, but it wasn't. It was just work dressed up as purpose. Her eyes held his. This is a life. You and Ava and Sunday morning pancakes and arguing about whether the living room needs another bookshelf. This is what I've been missing. We argue about bookshelves? We will. I have very strong opinions about organization. He kissed her. Of course you do. Ava adapted to the new arrangement with surprising ease. She loved having her own room in a building with a doorman who knew her name. She loved that Chloe's apartment was close to a park with better swings. She loved that her dad smiled more and stressed less. One night, tucking her into her new purple bedroom, she said, Daddy, are you happy? Very happy, baby. Are you? Uh-huh. She hugged her stuffed rabbit. It feels like we have a family again. His throat tightened. We do have a family. With Chloe? With Chloe. Ava considered this seriously. Is she going to be my mom now? Liam sat on the edge of her bed. Would you want that? I think so, but I don't want to forget my first mom. You won't. I promise. Your mom will always be your mom. Chloe's something different, something new. Can I call her mom if I want to? That's up to you and her to decide together. Okay, Ava yawned. I'm going to ask her tomorrow. She was asleep within minutes. Liam found Chloe in the kitchen, reviewing quarterly reports on her laptop, even though it was almost 10 p.m. Ava wants to talk to you tomorrow, he said, about what she should call you. Chloe looked up, eyes wide. Oh, she's thinking about calling you Mom, if that's okay. For a moment, Chloe couldn't speak. Then tears spilled over and she was crying. Not sad tears, but overwhelmed ones, the kind that came from feeling too much too fast. Liam crossed to her and pulled her into his arms. I never thought I'd get this, she whispered against his chest. A family. A child who wanted me. I thought I'd missed my chance. You didn't miss anything. You were just waiting for us to find you. I love her. I love both of you so much it terrifies me. Good. Be terrified together. They stood there in the kitchen that was now theirs, not his, not hers, but shared, and let the reality settle around them. This was their life now, complicated and beautiful and nothing like either of them had planned. The next morning, Ava cornered Chloe at breakfast. Can I call you Mom? She asked with her characteristic directness. Chloe set down her coffee carefully. Do you want to? Yeah, but only if it's okay with you. It's more than okay with me, sweetheart. Chloe's voice was thick. It would make me really happy. Okay then. Hi, Mom. Hi, Ava. Liam watched from the kitchen doorway, coffee mug frozen halfway to his mouth, and felt his heart crack open in the best possible way. His daughter had a mother again. He had a partner. They had a family. Work at Bennett Collective intensified over the following months. The rebrand rollout was aggressive. All 15 properties updated within 8 weeks. The website traffic tripled. Social media engagement exploded. Press coverage put them on the map nationally. Liam hired a small creative team to support the workload. 2 junior designers fresh out of design school and hungry to prove themselves. A brand manager to handle consistency across properties. A photographer who understood how to capture moments instead of staging them. He found he loved leading a team, loved mentoring young talent, loved building something sustainable instead of constantly hustling for the next gig. But the best part was working alongside Chloe. They developed a rhythm, strategy sessions that turned into debates that sharpened both their thinking. Morning coffee meetings where they'd review priorities. Late-night conversations about vision and values and where Bennett Collective should go next. Sometimes they disagreed. Liam wanted to move faster on new property designs. Chloe wanted to ensure existing locations were operating at peak performance before expanding. You're being too cautious, he'd argue. You're being too ambitious, she'd counter. But they always found middle ground, always listened, always came back to what mattered most, so building something meaningful. 3 months after the launch, Marcus Chen pulled Liam aside. I owe you an apology, the COO said. For what? For doubting this rebrand, for thinking it was just window dressing. Marcus gestured around the headquarters office, which now reflected the new brand identity. You changed how we see ourselves. That changed how we operate. That was the goal. Well, it worked. Marcus extended his hand. Thank you. They shook, and Liam felt the validation settle deep. He wasn't just a designer anymore, he was a leader. Rachel became one of Chloe's closest allies, and by extension, one of Liam's trusted collaborators. She understood brand emotion in a way few people did. Together, they developed training programs for property staff, teaching them how to embody Bennett Collective's values in every interaction. Brand isn't what we say, Rachel told new employees. It's what we do when no one's watching. Even David Park came around. 6 months after launch, he presented quarterly financial results that exceeded every projection. Investor confidence was at an all-time high. Property occupancy rates had climbed. Revenue per available room set records. The rebrand worked, he admitted during a leadership meeting, not just aesthetically, financially. Chloe smiled. Told you. Don't gloat. I'm absolutely gloating. Liam watched them banter and felt grateful for a team that had learned to trust each other. At home, life settled into a comfortable rhythm. Ava thrived in her new school, closer to downtown. She made friends easily and dragged Chloe to every school event, science fairs, art shows, end-of-year performances. Chloe attended them all, not out of obligation, out of genuine joy. She's singing a solo in the spring concert, Chloe told Liam excitedly one night. Can you believe it? Our daughter singing a solo. Our daughter. The phrase had slipped out naturally, and neither of them corrected it, because it was true. Sunday pancakes became a sacred tradition. Liam and Ava would cook while Chloe worked on her laptop at the kitchen table, pretending not to notice when they snuck chocolate chips into the batter. "I see you two conspiring," she'd say without looking up. "No conspiracy here," Liam would reply innocently. "Nope," Ava would echo. "Just pancakes." Then they'd present Chloe with a stack of chocolate chip pancakes, and she'd pretend to be scandalized before devouring them. These were the moments Liam treasured most. Not the professional victories or the financial security, just his family, together, laughing over breakfast. One Saturday in late summer, they drove out to Dripping Springs for the weekend. Chloe had blocked off the entire property for a staff retreat, but they arrived a day early to enjoy the space themselves. Ava ran through the courtyard chasing fireflies while Liam and Chloe sat by the fire pit. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Chloe asked. "What do you mean?" "If you'd left that restaurant before I showed up, if I'd actually canceled instead of showing up late, if you'd turned down the contract." Liam thought about it. "All the time." And I'm grateful for every choice that led us here." He took her hand. "Even the scary ones." "Especially the scary ones," Chloe corrected. They watched Ava dance in the twilight, her laughter carrying across the courtyard, and Liam felt the weight of 3 years of grief finally lift. He would always miss Claire, always carry her memory, but he was allowed to be happy again, to love again, to build a new life without abandoning the old one. "I want to marry you," he said suddenly. Chloe turned to him, eyes wide. "What?" "Not right now, not today. But someday soon, I want to marry you and make this official and build a life that's ours forever." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I want that too." "Yeah. Yeah." She leaned her head against his shoulder. "But let's do it right. Let's take our time. Let Ava be part of the planning. Make it ours." "Deal." They sat there as darkness settled around them, and Liam thought about the blind date that had changed everything. The woman who'd shown up late and offered him clarity. The contract that had become a calling. The love that had rebuilt his world. Ava ran over, breathless and happy. "Did you see how many fireflies I caught?" "How many?" Chloe asked. "0. But I tried really hard." They laughed, and Ava climbed between them, tucking herself against Chloe's side naturally. "I love it here," she said. "Can we stay forever?" "Not forever," Liam said. "But for tonight? That's good enough?" And it was. More than good enough. It was everything. The ring sat in Liam's desk drawer for 3 weeks before he found the courage to do anything with it. He'd bought it on impulse during a lunch break in September, walking past a small jewelry shop in downtown Austin and seeing it in the window. Simple platinum band with a single emerald-cut diamond, elegant without being ostentatious. The kind of ring that said permanence without shouting about it. It was perfect for Chloe. But every time he thought about proposing, doubt crept in. What if it was too soon? They'd only been officially together for 8 months. What if Ava wasn't ready for that kind of change? What if Chloe said yes out of obligation rather than desire? He was overthinking again. A habit he thought he'd broken. "You're being weird," his sister Kim said over coffee one Saturday morning while Ava and Chloe were at the farmer's market together. "I'm not being weird. You've checked your phone 6 times in the last 10 minutes. That's weird." Liam set down his mug. "I bought a ring." Kim's eyes went wide. "You what?" 3 weeks ago. It's in my desk." "Have you shown Chloe?" "No." "Have you shown Ava?" "No." "So you bought an engagement ring and told no one?" "I'm telling you now." Kim leaned back, studying him with the expression of someone who'd watched him make questionable decisions his entire life. "What are you afraid of?" "Everything." The admission came easier than expected. That it's too fast. That I'm being selfish. That I'm replacing Claire instead of moving forward. "Are you replacing her?" "No, never." "Then what's the problem?" Liam stared into his coffee. "Claire and I had 7 years together. We built a life slowly. This with Chloe feels like we're sprinting toward forever, and I don't know if that's brave or reckless." Kim reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "You want to know what I think?" "Not really, but you're going to tell me anyway. Claire loved you. She would want you to be happy. She would want Ava to have a mother who showed up and cared and made pancakes on Sunday mornings. Kim's voice softened, and she would tell you to stop being an idiot and marry the woman who clearly adores you. You think? I know, because she told me once after her diagnosis that if anything happened to her, she hoped you'd find someone worth loving again. Kim's eyes glistened. Chloe is worth it. You know she is. Liam nodded slowly, the knot in his chest loosening slightly. So what do I do? You talk to Ava first, make sure she's ready. Then you ask Chloe in a way that feels true to who you both are. Kim smiled. And you stop overthinking it. I don't know how to stop overthinking. You managed it once, when you stayed at that restaurant. She was right. Sometimes the bravest thing was just staying in the moment and trusting it would work out. That evening, after Chloe had gone to bed early with a headache from back-to-back investor calls, Liam sat with Ava in her purple bedroom. She was drawing at her desk, tongue poking out in concentration as she colored an elaborate castle. Can we talk about something important? He asked. She set down her crayon. Am I in trouble? No, baby. Nothing like that. Then what? Liam pulled up her desk chair and sat beside her. How do you feel about Chloe? I love her. You know that. I do. But I mean really. Are you happy living here, having her as part of our family? Ava tilted her head, considering the question with surprising seriousness. Yeah. She makes you smile. And she helps me with homework without getting frustrated like you do with math. Hey, I'm not that bad at math. Daddy, you counted on your fingers last week. That was one time. Ava giggled, then grew serious again. Why are you asking? Liam took a breath. Because I'm thinking about asking Chloe to marry me, but only if you're okay with it. Ava's eyes went wide. Really? Really? And I get to be in the wedding? Of course. Can I wear a fancy dress? The fanciest. She launched herself at him, wrapping her arms around his neck. Yes. Ask her, Daddy. Ask her tomorrow. He laughed, hugging her tight. I need to plan it first. Make it special. She'll say yes. I know she will. How do you know? Ava pulled back and looked at him with the infinite wisdom of 7 years. Because she looks at you the way you look at pancakes. I love pancakes. Exactly. 2 weeks later, Liam had a plan. Bennett Collective was hosting a small celebration at the Dripping Springs property to mark 1 year since the rebrand launch. Intimate gathering, just the leadership team and key contributors. Chloe had been planning it for weeks, treating it as both a professional milestone and personal victory. She had no idea Liam had coordinated with Rachel and Marcus to create a moment within the evening just for them. The day arrived unseasonably warm for late October. Liam spent the morning pacing the apartment while Chloe was at the office handling last-minute details. The ring box felt heavy in his pocket. He'd shown it to Ava the night before. She'd gasped appropriately and declared it the prettiest thing she'd ever seen, then made him promise she could help him get ready. Now she stood in his bathroom doorway, supervising as he attempted to knot his tie for the 4th time. You're nervous, she observed. Very nervous. Don't be. She loves you. What if I mess up the words? Then say them wrong. She won't care. He smiled at his daughter, who somehow possessed more emotional intelligence at 7 than he'd managed in 36 years. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just noticed. Chloe emerged from their bedroom looking devastating in a deep navy dress that made Liam forget how to breathe. You look beautiful, he managed. You clean up pretty well yourself. She kissed him softly. Ready? Not even close, but he nodded anyway. The drive to Dripping Springs felt simultaneously endless and too short. Ava chattered in the back seat about the science project she was working on while Chloe responded with genuine interest. Liam gripped the steering wheel and tried to remember the speech he'd rehearsed. By the time they arrived, his hands were sweating. The property glowed in the early evening light. String lights wrapped around trees. The courtyard fire pit burned low and welcoming. Tables set with simple elegance. Everything reflected the brand they'd built together. Guests were already arriving. Marcus and his wife. Rachel with her partner. David Park, surprisingly relaxed in khakis instead of his usual suit. The designers from Liam's team. Property managers from across Texas. People who'd believed in the vision. people who'd helped make it real. Chloe moved through the crowd with practiced grace, thanking everyone, laughing at jokes, making people feel valued with just her attention. Liam watched her and felt his anxiety transform into certainty. This was the woman he wanted beside him for everything that came next. Dinner was served family style. Conversations flowed easily. Wine loosened tongues and stories emerged. Rachel told the room about the first time she'd seen the new logo and nearly cried because it captured everything she'd been trying to articulate for years. Marcus admitted he'd thought the rebrand was unnecessary until the investor feedback proved him spectacularly wrong. David raised his glass. To Chloe, for having vision when the rest of us had spreadsheets. Laughter and applause rippled around the table. Then Rachel stood, catching Liam's eye subtly. Before dessert, there's one more thing. She smiled at Chloe. We've been keeping a secret. Chloe frowned. What kind of secret? The good kind. Rachel gestured to the courtyard. Come with us. Confused but intrigued, Chloe let herself be led outside with the group following. Liam hung back, heart hammering, and squeezed Ava's hand. You got this, Daddy, she whispered. In the courtyard, a screen had been set up. Rachel clicked a remote and a video began playing. Chloe's face filled the frame, but from 8 years ago. Younger, uncertain, standing in front of her first property with a nervous smile. This is Bennett Hotel San Antonio, younger Chloe said to the camera. Opening day. I have 3 employees, massive debt, and absolutely no idea what I'm doing. But I believe in this. I believe people want places that feel like home. The video cut to time-lapse footage of the property's renovation. Then to the opening, to the first guests checking in, to reviews being posted online. Chloe's hand went to her mouth. The montage continued. Each property opening, each milestone. Chloe aging gracefully through the years, her confidence growing, her team expanding. Then the rebrand. Liam's first logo presentation appeared on screen. Chloe's reaction captured by someone's phone camera, her eyes lighting up, her smile breaking through. This is it, video Chloe said. This is exactly what I've been trying to say. The video shifted to the launch event. Press coverage, investor meetings, properties being updated with the new brand. Finally, it ended on recent footage of Chloe, Liam, and Ava at Sunday Pancakes. Someone had filmed them without their knowledge. The 3 of them laughing, Ava's face covered in chocolate, Chloe wiping it off with maternal instinct while Liam watched with obvious adoration. The video faded to black. Text appeared, Bennett Collective, where strangers become family. The courtyard was silent except for Chloe's quiet crying. Then Liam stepped forward. 8 years ago you had a vision, he said, his voice carrying across the space. You built something from nothing. You turned strangers into family. You created homes away from home. Chloe turned to face him, tears streaming down her face. A year ago you gave me a chance when I was a struggling designer barely keeping things together. He moved closer. You didn't just hire me. You saw me. You believed in me. You made me part of something bigger than myself. His hand went to his pocket. And somewhere along the way, you became my home. He dropped to one knee. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ava bounced excitedly beside Kim. Chloe's hands covered her mouth, eyes wide. Chloe Bennett, you are the bravest, most brilliant, most infuriatingly perfect person I've ever met. His voice shook slightly. You showed up 90 minutes late to our first date, and somehow that was exactly what I needed. You challenged me. You trusted me. You loved my daughter like she was always yours. He pulled out the ring box and opened it. The emerald-cut diamond caught the firelight. I want to spend the rest of my life building things with you. Not just brands or businesses, but a family, a home, a life that's ours. He looked up at her. Will you marry me? For a moment, Chloe couldn't speak. Then she dropped to her knees in front of him, not caring about her dress or the audience, and cupped his face in her hands. Yes, she whispered. Yes, absolutely yes. He slid the ring onto her finger with shaking hands. She kissed him while everyone cheered and Liam felt every piece of his carefully reconstructed world click into perfect alignment. When they finally pulled apart, Ava was there, throwing herself at both of them. You said yes! I knew you would! Chloe laughed through her tears and pulled Ava into their embrace. Of course I said yes. How could I say anything else? The rest of the evening blurred into celebration. Champagne appeared. Toasts were made. Rachel cried happy tears. Marcus shook Liam's hand with something approaching genuine affection. David muttered something about finally making it official, but smiled while saying it. Through it all, Chloe kept looking at her ring, then at Liam, then at Ava, like she couldn't quite believe it was real. Later, after most guests had left and Ava had fallen asleep in one of the property's rooms, Liam and Chloe sat by the fire pit alone. You planned all of that, Chloe said, still slightly stunned. Rachel helped, and Marcus, and your entire team, who apparently can keep secrets better than I thought. The video... I've been collecting footage for months. Every time someone recorded a meeting or event, I asked for the files. She shook her head in wonder. You are full of surprises, Liam Carter. Soon to be Liam Bennett, if you want. Chloe looked at him sharply. You'd take my name? Or we could hyphenate, or keep our own names. I don't care about the logistics. He took her hand, the ring glinting between them. I just care about being yours. She kissed him softly. I love you so much it's actually ridiculous. Good. Be ridiculous with me forever. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the fire burn low. Can I tell you something? Chloe said eventually. Anything. When I walked into that restaurant a year ago, I was terrified. Not just about being late or making a bad impression, about the whole thing. She turned to face him. I'd convinced myself I was fine alone, that I didn't need anyone, that my company was enough. And now? Now I know I was lying to myself. She squeezed his hand. This is what I needed. You, Ava. A family that chose me back. We'll always choose you. Promise? Promise. The wedding took place 4 months later in early March. They debated having a big formal affair, but ultimately decided against it. Instead, they chose the Dripping Springs property again, the place that had witnessed so many of their important moments. 50 guests. Immediate family, close friends, the Bennett Collective leadership team, intimate and intentional. Ava served as flower girl, wearing a dress she'd helped pick out and practicing her walk down the aisle for weeks in advance. Kim stood as Liam's best woman, still crying before the ceremony even started. Rachel served as Chloe's maid of honor, beaming with pride. The ceremony itself was simple. They'd written their own vows, both of them standing under an arch woven with native Texas wildflowers. Chloe spoke first, her voice steady despite the tears tracking down her face. Liam, you taught me that success isn't measured in properties or profit margins. It's measured in Sunday morning pancakes and bedtime stories and the way someone looks at you when you're at your worst and loves you anyway. She glanced at Ava, who was watching with rapt attention. You gave me a family I didn't know I needed. You gave me a home that exists in people, not places. And I promise to honor that every single day for the rest of my life. Liam's turn. He'd rehearsed his vows 100 times, but now, standing in front of her, most of them disappeared. Chloe, 3 years ago, I thought my life was over, that I'd never be happy again, that the best I could hope for was surviving each day until the next one. His voice cracked. Then you walked into a restaurant 90 minutes late and proved me wrong about everything. Scattered laughter from the guests. You didn't just give me a job or a contract. You gave me purpose. You reminded me that I was more than just a dad trying not to screw up. I was a designer, a partner, someone worth choosing. He looked at Ava. You loved my daughter without hesitation. You never tried to replace her mother, but you became something equally important. He turned back to Chloe. I promise to support your dreams as fiercely as you've supported mine, to challenge you when you need it and hold you when you don't, to build a life with you that's messy and beautiful and absolutely ours. The officiant barely got through the "you may kiss" part before they were already kissing, and the small crowd erupted in applause. The reception that followed felt more like a family dinner than a formal event. Tables arranged around the courtyard fire pit, food from the property's restaurant, simple and perfect. A playlist of songs they both loved instead of a DJ. Liam danced with Ava first, spinning her around while she giggled uncontrollably. Then with Kim, who whispered, I'm so proud of you. Finally with his wife. The word still felt surreal. Wife. Chloe rested her head against his chest as they swayed to music neither of them was really hearing. "This is perfect," she murmured. "Yeah? Better than perfect. It's us." David Park approached during a lull in the music, looking uncomfortable but determined. "I owe you both an apology," he said without preamble. Chloe raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "For doubting this." He gestured vaguely at them. "Not just the rebrand, all of it. I thought you were making decisions with your heart instead of your head, Chloe. I was wrong." "David, let me finish." He straightened his shoulders. "You two built something I didn't think was possible. A company with soul, a brand with integrity. And somehow you did it while falling in love and creating a family." He smiled, actually smiled. "That's leadership I can respect." Chloe hugged him, surprising them both. "Thank you," she said quietly. "That means more than you know." After he walked away, Liam pulled Chloe close again. "You did that," he said. "Built a company people believe in." "We did that." "No, you had the vision. I just helped articulate it." "Stop diminishing yourself." She looked up at him. "We're partners now. In everything. That means sharing credit and blame equally." "Yes, ma'am." "I love when you call me ma'am." "I know you do, Mrs. Bennett." She kissed him, and for a moment the rest of the reception faded away. Later that night, after guests had left and Ava had been tucked into bed by Kim, who'd volunteered to stay overnight, Liam and Chloe walked the property one last time as husband and wife. The courtyard was quiet, except for the crackling fire pit. String lights swayed gently in the breeze. "A year ago we launched the rebrand here," Chloe said. "Now we're married here. Full circle. Better than a circle. A spiral. Moving forward while honoring where we've been." Liam pulled her close. Very poetic for someone who claims to think in spreadsheets. "You've corrupted me with your designer sensibilities." "Good." They stood there watching the fire burn low, and Liam thought about the journey that had led them here. From a blind date that almost didn't happen, to a contract that became a calling, to love that rebuilt everything. "No regrets?" Chloe asked softly. "Not a single one. Not even when I'm impossible? Especially then?" She laughed and rested her head against his shoulder. "What do you think happens next? Whatever we want, Colorado expansion, more properties, maybe another kid if we're feeling ambitious." "Another kid?" Chloe pulled back to look at him. "We haven't talked about that." "I know, but Ava asked me last week if she was going to get a brother or sister." "What did you tell her?" "That it's not up to me alone. That we'd decide together." Chloe was quiet for a moment, considering. "I think I'd like that," she said finally. "In a year or two, after things settle." "Yeah?" "Yeah." She smiled. "Turns out I'm pretty good at this whole family thing." "You're exceptional at it." "Only because I learned from watching you." They kissed under the stars, and Liam felt the future stretch out before them, full of possibility and promise. The next morning, they woke up in the property's master suite to find Ava bouncing on their bed. "You're married," she announced unnecessarily. "Does this mean I can tell everyone you're my parents now?" Chloe pulled her into a hug. "You can tell anyone you want, sweetheart. Even Miss Rachel at school?" "Especially Miss Rachel." Ava beamed, then noticed something. "Mom, your ring is so sparkly." Chloe met Liam's eyes over Ava's head. Mom. Not Chloe. Not anything tentative, just Mom. "It is sparkly, isn't it?" Chloe said, voice thick with emotion. "Daddy picked a good one." "He did." They spent the morning having breakfast in the courtyard, the three of them, planning their honeymoon, which would double as Ava's spring break trip. "Can we go to the beach?" Ava asked. "Whatever you want," Liam said. "And build sandcastles?" "The biggest sandcastles in the world." Chloe watched them plan, her hand occasionally drifting to her ring, still adjusting to its presence. This was her life now. Not perfect, not without challenges, but wholly, completely hers. 6 months after the wedding, Bennett Collective opened its first Colorado property. The launch event was larger than the Dripping Springs celebration, attended by national press and investors from across the country. Liam had led the brand implementation personally, ensuring every detail reflected their evolved identity. The property itself was stunning, mountain views, sustainable architecture, local partnerships that supported the community. Everything Bennett Collective had become. Chloe gave the keynote address with Liam and Ava watching from the front row. 10 years ago, I had a dream, she began, to create spaces where people felt seen, valued, home. Today, that dream has grown beyond anything I imagined. She talked about expansion plans, new markets, sustainable practices, community investment, but then her tone shifted. None of this would exist without the people who believed when it was just a vision, my team, who turned ideas into reality, my investors, who trusted potential over proof. She paused. And my family, who reminded me that success without purpose is just noise. Her eyes found Liam. My husband taught me that brands aren't built in boardrooms. They're built in moments of truth, in decisions that honor values over profit, in the quiet work of showing up every day and doing it right. She looked at Ava. And my daughter taught me that the bravest thing we can do is let people in, let them matter, let them change us. The crowd applauded, but Liam only saw Chloe. Strong, vulnerable, everything he loved about her on full display. After the speech, they walked the property together while Ava ran ahead pointing out mountain wildflowers. You were incredible up there, Liam said. I was terrified. Didn't show. Chloe laughed. You always say that. Because it's always true. They stopped at a viewpoint overlooking the mountains, and Chloe turned to face him. I have something to tell you. His heart skipped. Good something or bad something? Good, I think. She took his hands. I'm pregnant. Time stopped. What? I found out last week, wanted to wait until after the launch to tell you. She smiled nervously. Surprise? Liam pulled her into his arms, laughing and crying simultaneously. We're having a baby? We're having a baby. Ava came running back. Why are you crying? Did something bad happen? No, sweetheart. Chloe crouched down. Something very good happened. You're going to be a big sister. Ava's eyes went wide. Really? Really? When? In about 6 months. Ava threw her arms around Chloe's neck. This is the best day ever. Liam watched his wife and daughter embrace against a backdrop of Colorado mountains and felt his life expand again in ways he'd stopped believing possible. The baby arrived in early spring, exactly 1 year after the wedding. A boy. 8 pounds, 2 ounces. Healthy lungs and his mother's determined expression. They named him James, after Liam's father, with the middle name Carter to honor both families. Ava took her big sister responsibilities seriously, hovering over the bassinet and reporting every tiny movement to anyone who would listen. He yawned! Did you see? He definitely yawned! Chloe recovered quickly, already answering emails from her hospital bed while nursing. You're supposed to be resting, Liam chided. I am resting. I'm sitting down. That's not what resting means. Then you have a different definition than I do. He kissed her forehead. I love you. Well, love you too. Now hand me my laptop. Absolutely not. Marcus and Rachel visited that evening, bringing flowers and a stuffed bear for James. He's beautiful, Rachel said, tears already flowing. He's barely a day old and already has Chloe's stubborn streak, Marcus observed. Good, Chloe said. He'll need it running a company someday. Or he'll be an artist, Liam countered. Or a teacher, or whatever he wants. Fair point. They argued playfully while their friends watched, and Liam realized this was their rhythm now, balancing dreams, challenging each other, building a life that honored both their visions. 2 years later, Bennett Collective had expanded to 3 states with 28 properties. Liam's creative team had grown to 12 people. He'd won industry awards for the rebrand, been featured in design publications, spoken at conferences about building brands with purpose. But his favorite accomplishment was still the Sunday morning pancakes. Now with James toddling around the kitchen creating chaos while Ava helped Chloe set the table. They'd moved to a larger apartment, 4 bedrooms, enough space for everyone plus Liam's home office, which he still used despite having space at Bennett headquarters. Some mornings felt like controlled chaos. Ava needed help with homework. James needed constant supervision. Chloe had calls with international investors. Liam had design reviews. But they made it work, because that's what families did. One Sunday morning, while James napped and Ava was absorbed in a book, Chloe found Liam on the balcony. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked. He pulled her close. "Just thinking about how different life is from 5 years ago." "Better different or worse different?" "Impossibly better." She rested her head against his chest. "I still can't believe you almost didn't show up to that blind date. I can't believe you showed up 90 minutes late." "Best decision I ever made." "Second best," Liam corrected. "Best was saying yes when I proposed." "Tied for first, I think." They stood there watching the city move below them, the life they'd built humming quietly behind them. "Do you ever miss it?" Chloe asked. "The quiet." "Before all this?" "Never. Not even once. Not even when James wakes us up at 3 a.m. Especially not then." She laughed softly. "You're a terrible liar." Okay, maybe a little then, but I wouldn't trade it." "Me neither." Ava appeared in the doorway. "James is awake and he's asking for Mom." "He's 2. He can't really ask for anything yet." He pointed at the door and said, "Mama." "That's asking." Chloe kissed Liam quickly. "Duty calls." She disappeared inside and Liam heard James's delighted squeal when he saw her. This was the life he'd rebuilt. Not the one he'd planned, not the one he'd lost. Something entirely new. Something better. A life built on second chances and late arrivals, and the courage to stay at the table long enough for the right person to sit down. That evening, after the kids were asleep and the apartment was finally quiet, Liam and Chloe collapsed on the couch together. "We survived another week," Chloe said. "Barely." "Do you think it gets easier?" "Absolutely not." She laughed and curled against him. "Good. I was worried it was just us." They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that only came from years of choosing each other every single day. "Liam?" "Yeah?" "Thank you for waiting that night at the restaurant." He pulled her closer. "Thank you for showing up. Even 90 minutes late?" "Especially 90 minutes late." Because sometimes the best things in life didn't arrive on time. They arrived exactly when you needed them. And if you were brave enough to wait, patient enough to trust, and open enough to let them in, they changed everything. Liam had learned that lesson the hard way. Lost his wife. Rebuilt his life alone. Spent 3 years believing he'd already had his great love story. Then Chloe Bennett walked into a restaurant wearing the wrong dress and proved that life could still surprise you. That second chances were real. That families could be built from broken pieces and still be whole. They fell asleep on the couch that night, tangled together, the city lights filtering through the windows. And in the morning, they'd wake up and do it all again. The chaos, the love, the life they'd chosen together. Because that's what it meant to build something lasting, not avoiding the mess, not waiting for perfect, just showing up every day for each other. And trusting that was enough. It always had been. It always would be.